Hey everyone, welcome to the Oasis podcast. I'm your host, Miss AJ. Thanks for tuning in. An oasis is something that provides refuge, relief, or a pleasant contrast, and that is exactly what you will find tuning into the Oasis podcast. This is a space where I and special guests will be cultivating intentional and honest conversations about life's journey. Subscribe everywhere you listen to podcasts and watch us on YouTube now. Welcome back, everyone, to the Oasis podcast. I'm here again with my sister friend, Jennifer.
Hello, everyone.
So, today's actually Jennifer's birthday. So, happy birthday, Jennifer! So, we spent the day celebrating. So, we are back today. So, you already know the first episode that we shared with you all had to do with the home buying experience. Mm-hmm. And we promised y'all an update. And we got an update for y'all. I don't know if it's the update we wanted. But we definitely have an update for you all. So, let's jump in. Jen, reintroduce yourself to those of who probably are just checking in on this podcast for the first time.
I'm Jennifer, and we've embarked on this home buying journey for a few months now, and I feel blessed to have her as a friend, a sister to kind of be on this journey with. So hopefully today we can share some of our experiences and some feedbacks to people who may be going through it or thinking about going through it, and I guess share some of our experiences, maybe share some advice.
Absolutely. So this episode is going to be mainly lessons learned. I think last time we talked about the process, right? Mm-hmm. Getting started and kind of moving through the process. And this time we are out of round one, I guess you could say. So we kind of went through it and we're at a stop right now. And we're reflecting and unpacking the experience that we've had. So we're going to also touch on that, give a little bit of kind of what happened, but then mainly focus on the things that we learned and hopefully wish to do different next time. And so for those of you, hopefully mistakes that you won't have to make if you listening to this and are embarking on your home buying journey. So a short recap, right? So it is approximately how many months altogether we've been searching?
We started, was it February? Definitely underground looking at places February.
Mm-hmm. So that makes it about 8 months.
8 months.
8 months into
for you it's 8 months, round 2 or round 3.
yeah it's been quite way longer. But so for this kind of stretch of it, it's been 8 months total. And the last episode we talked about, having a particular real estate agent that we found, a black man who has been guiding us through the process. We were working with him for about 5 months to this point, I guess you can say. Up until our last transaction, it's been 5 months. And since also the recording, I think we've kind of went through, when I say went through, meaning put bids on and went through the process of what about 2 or 3 places?
3.
It's 3. Yeah.
3. Okay. 1 didn't bother to answer because they weren't gonna provide the property vacant. Mm-hmm, but 2 of them we've gone through attorney reviews for 2 separate properties.
So what that means is that we had to shell out some money. And listen here, I don't care if it's $1. Like, if it's unnecessary, it's unnecessary. But we'll get to that. So just kind of give y'all some context since the last podcast, right? We were working with this real estate agent. And between then and now, we've already had 3 deals that kind of in some way, shape, or form fell through, essentially. And we can, I guess, talk about those experiences a little bit more. But right now, we are probably mostly at the suggestion of myself, taking a break. And I'm choosing to take a break as opposed to get burnt out from the process, because that's what's happened to me prior. I kept experiencing hardships. I kept experiencing just the craziest things. And I would get so disheartened and just be over the whole process. And I feel like we were nearing that. I feel like we were nearing kind of like, what the fuck like is going on? And I said, you know what? Let me not get myself to the point of being burnt out and completely turned off from the process. Let me just take a break. Let me regroup. Let me get myself together. And then we can start fresh, of course, with better tools in our kit, moving
For sure.
forward, so that hopefully the next time will be the it time, right? Because I think we learned a lot about what type of agent we want, what type of process we want to experience. And I think we also learned that we have more of more of a hand in the process than we thought, I think, essentially.
I think so.
Yeah, for sure. So let's jump into it. So we mentioned that I don't even know where to start. I don't know where to start. Actually, I don't know where to start. So we start with the agents. So we start with the properties. Like, I don't know.
Well, I guess the easiest part is the properties.
Okay. All right. I mean, we don't have to name addresses.
Right.
But we looked at some properties. Again, we were looking in Jersey. And we were either we're willing to do individual or something together, depending on the property, depending on how it best suited both of our needs. And so two of the properties it was two families that were close together, right?
Yes.
That was side by side. And then it was 1 4-family, right? So the first one, we pretty much got the offer accepted.
Yes. Offer got accepted, but they said it was fully occupied and they were not gonna entertain the idea of providing any unit vacant.
Right, and that just wasn't gonna work. Simply because that property needed so much work, and it was just gonna be too much of a hassle at that to not have it vacant, or at least the allotted amount of properties vacant. So when you buying a property, this one was two families. So, and then this one had the basement, right? This was the basement.
No, the first one was the one we didn't even get to see because they weren't allowing anyone in until
I'm thinking
the
about
offer was
I'm thinking about the second one.
Accepted.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So that was the
yeah.
very first one.
Yeah. Okay. So we didn't even.
And that one, we didn't even move forward into attorney review because they said they weren't gonna
vacate by no means at all. They wasn't even gonna try to
right.
And technically, legally, if it's a 2-family, they have to vacate at least one of the properties so the owner can be in one, and they said they wasn't gonna do none of that, so that wasn't gonna work. But the neighborhood was nice, right? It had it was great location, had a lot of things that we wanted, and so that's why we were willing to make an offer without seeing it, because that was also a stipulation, like they had to accept the offer before you can see the property, which was a little wonky, but
so we had a contingency
that we won't go forward unless we saw the whole property. So that one was that. And then there was a second one that I was thinking about. That was a two family, both side by side, but they also had a finished basement. And that particular property needed work. That's the one I was addressing earlier. It needed a lot of work. And I think, we got the offer accepted, but I don't know if we got it to attorney review. Or did we? Yes, we did. We did get to attorney review. So what attorney review means is essentially just that both sides attorneys are looking over the contracts and they're putting in the things that they want, and not either the seller or the buyer wants, so that you can move forward into moving the process forward. This essentially can take minimum 3 days, but they call it, in our case, one of ours took about 2 weeks. It took a while, like over a week, almost 2 weeks.
Attorney review took about longer than expected.
2 weeks. So it can take a little while depending on just how quickly the attorneys kind of respond and kind of go back and forth, I guess, with their client and back to the other attorney and all that. So that can take some time. That particular property, we got to attorney review. So I think it's hard not to talk about the property, not to talk about the agent and just talk about the property, because so we had so much good stuff to say about our agent last time, and he came out the door swinging. You feel me? So we were like, oh, this guy is great. Like, this is awesome. And I just, no offense to anybody who's a real estate agent that's listening, but y'all suck. Like, I've had too many bad experiences with agents. I'm starting to feel like y'all learned this in school. Like, y'all learned this in real estate agent school, because they always come off, of course, friendly, like they're willing to help, they're ready, and somewhere along the line, they lose the enthusiasm, they lose the gusto, they lose the work ethic, and it's essentially you technically doing all the work, and then they don't give you energy until they think, oh yeah, something's really about to go down, and then they try to push you into something that may not even be in your best interest. Now, I hope and pray all y'all ain't like this, and if there's some who isn't like this, please hit us up. We're looking for Jersey. Holla at us. But I've met entirely too many who just doesn't give that energy. So he started out great. Like, he knew the neighborhoods, which we loved. So he was able to give us, because he lived in the neighborhoods that we were looking for, or he was very familiar with them, or he grew up in them. So he was able to be like, hey, this is how it is, this is how it's not, this is what you should do, this is what you shouldn't do. Perfect. Wonderful. Thank you. He was also, I think he was good at giving us properties to look at, like to view. At first, he kind of started out, showing us listings or whatever the case is. And of course we're just a personality where we do our own, anyway, we do our own due diligence. So we were sending him stuff. Proactive. Yeah, for sure. So we were just waiting on him, but he did a good job of sending some stuff at first. I feel when things got a little sticky, I saw some inconsistencies early on, but they were negligible. Like, there were things that was like, I don't like that, but it's all right. Nothing huge. But it started to get when we got into the second deal, right? Mm-hmm. And so out the gate,
I think even before the second deal, there was another property where we weren't able to make an offer.
Yes, because they were close together, right? Right. Yes. That is very true. So there was another for a family that was like, it was probably like 70% finished about. Mm-hmm. But great location, mm-hmm. huge property. The work that was already done looked great, mm-hmm. right? It was a good looking property. We mm-hmm. seen it. Let's say we saw it at the top of the month. I'm just trying to give y'all a timeline. Saw it at the top of the month and we're like, yo, all right, we definitely want to move forward. The day we seen it, we're like, yes, we want it. Like, let's do this. He's like, all right, cool. So we would have needed a special type of loan to get it so that we can finish the work, right? And that's called a 203K. So there's a process that goes with that. At the time, we didn't really know what the process was, so we were relying on him to use his expertise, right? He's an agent. Like, he should know this stuff, or he should have resources, right? People that he can lean on to assist. He gave us the impression that he was, he was on it. So he's like, okay, we have to find a contractor to come and give us a bid in order for us to even make an offer. So that we have a guesstimate of what is doable and et cetera, et cetera. We're like, all right, cool. He says he's on it. No worries. Got this. How long passed? I think about 2 weeks passed. And in this market, that's a lifetime. Like, that's a long time. But every few days, I would say every 2 to 3 days, I was like, hey, hey, working on it. Oh yeah, I got somebody. Oh this, and then nothingness. Oh, they fell through. Or oh this, and he would start to make like these excuses. Okay, so then we got, because again, this is our personality. So we was like, we're gonna find somebody, because I don't know what you're doing. We're gonna find somebody. So we talked to our loan officer, and he suggests someone. Cool, very professional. Professional. They show up. So we make a date for them to come. And so that they can finally view the property. This is about 2.5 weeks later, I want to say. Yeah. About. The house, for whatever strange reason, is still on the market, right? So we're like, okay, good. All right, we might have a chance. Cool. Make the date. It's like a Saturday morning, I think, or something like that. Was it a Sunday? Yeah. It was like a weekend. It was definitely a weekend. Mm-hmm. And, everyone knows, all right, I'm going to show up at this time. The day comes. Time comes, the contractors show up as scheduled earlier. Even they got there before we did, and we're waiting for our real estate agent
because we can't have access. We don't have access to the property
because he has that information. We're waiting. You give it a little grace period, give it a little 15 minutes. Nothing. We call. No, we text. No response. And at this point, he was very good at responding back. Sometimes we would hit him up at night and he would respond back. Like, he was very good with communication.
And was always there on time whenever we had an appointment.
Always. So, hit him up. No message. No text message back. Call. No response. It's like going straight to voicemail. And at this point, now we're like half an hour in. And we can't find him. Like, no contact. We try calling his office. We trying all kinds of ways to try to contact this man, and nothing. The contractor's still waiting. It's like, okay, no problem. We can wait. It's fine. So now it's like time is running. We're like, yo, what is going on? Maybe something happened. Like, this is such strange behavior. It's not like him at all. So what we're trying to do now, not also find him, but also trying to find a way to get into this property. We're already here. We drove all the way from Brooklyn. Like, we have these people here. We don't want to waste their time. So now I was like, okay, let's try to find a way to get into the property. And actually, Jenn kind of suggested that, because I don't think I would even thought about that. She was like, oh, let's try to call, we tried to call their agent, right?
Yeah, the number that was listed on the property, they had a sign, and it happened to be the listing agent. Yeah,
exactly. So, you want to tell the rest?
All right, so I called the listing agent. I said we were supposed to come see the property today with our contractor, but we don't have access because our agent is not there. And then he asked who is it? I told him the name of the agent, and he said he never heard of him. So that's one. And
this is why this isn't significant. We've been talking to our agent, and he's like, yeah, he's been in contact with them. They know that we're interested, and all this stuff. So this is why this is significant.
And let me also add, I think we saw the property that same day that it was listed on that particular website, because I saw it the same day. We sent it to him, and we happened to have other appointments that same day. He was able to put it on the schedule, and because it was a vacant property, so it was easy to get access.
I also want to add, because there were little things he started doing that same day. Remember, he was showing us a property of somebody he knew. You don't remember? That was that same day. And he had showed us the property, and we were kind of like, he's asking for a little bit too much, this and that, third. And then we end up seeing that property last, the one that we were interested in last. And I felt his energy was like, kind of like, because he wanted us to, I guess, like the property that his friend had. And when we saw that one, he kind of was not enthused. He kind of was like, okay, sure, yeah. And then he kind of started getting like, when he saw we were really interested, and he's like, oh, okay, guys, yeah. Then we'll do this and we'll do that. But he was really gunning for us to go for the friend's property.
Right. He definitely advocated a lot for that one.
Right.
That's true. So back to the listing agent for that other property. And then when he said he never heard of our agent, then he asked me what kind of offer. So I said, this is the type of loan. Or maybe I asked him if he's accepting. Because sometimes they say they won't entertain that type of loan. So I think I asked him, and he said they have cash offers. So now we're talking about over 2 weeks in since we first saw the property. Had our agent been in contact with the listing agent, he would have known all that information. We wouldn't have wasted our time, money, and the contractor's time. So that was one major thing for us. And then when we follow up with him, he eventually called us back. Maybe at this point we're on our way home or something, right? I don't even think we heard from him the same day.
It was that night.
Right.
It was that night. Saying, his y'all forgive me. Now, I'm gonna say excuse because I don't know if it's the truth, and there are other little things that happened afterward that made me feel like this man might be a liar. His excuse was like, "Oh wow," but also like, "Okay, really?" So he said that his son had allergic reaction the night before, and that they had taken him to the hospital. His phone died, and that's what happened. Essentially, he was at the hospital. He couldn't charge his phone, and that's why he didn't make it. That sucks. Like, that's messed up. Like, we were just like, oh my gosh, like, that's terrible. Wow, and he was apologetic, and it was like, okay, like, all right, well, it's kind of a done deal at this point, right? Yeah. So this is what we learned. And then when we told him what we learned, he's like, oh yeah, like,
that's the part that got to me. The medical emergency I can get over. Yeah. But the fact that you never give us any, like, you've never follow up with the agent, never update us, and when we told you that, she's like, oh yeah, we knew that.
And I kept asking him. I literally, every other day I said, is the property still available? Did they not accept any offers yet by this point? Because if anyone knows the market right now, things go like this.
Right.
And for probably like that to have stayed on that long, it's like, that don't make any sense. And he kept telling us, they know our offer's coming. It's still available. Huh? And then now we tell you, oh, this is what we know. So we know this information now. And now he's like, oh, yeah, I knew that. Oh, yeah. Wait, what? I literally asked you the other day. Why did you make us do this if you knew this? Like, it just didn't make sense. It just didn't add up. And that honestly, there were other, like I said, prior to that, there were little things that I kind of was like, but that left a taste in my mouth that was like, oh, I don't like that.
That was the first time I started saying.
Yeah, that's when you kind of started.
Yeah. But I know you had some concerns.
I already did prior, like even with that property where we didn't see it and we was making an offer, that made me uncomfortable. Like, so I gave him a lot of pushback. We did a lot of back and forth with that, and he was just like, "Oh no, it's fine. We can just do this." And we can do. Like, he was very adamant on us making an offer. Just make the offer. Just make the offer. That's when you get to attorney review, you know, you can iron this out, iron that out. And what I've known from my past experience is that once you're in an attorney review, it's not some easy peasy thing to get out of. So when I say that, I mean, for one, you're bringing in attorneys, right? So if they're doing work for you, you're gonna have to pay them. Right. Why go to a point where you have to shell out money when you can kind of figure something out before you get there? His whole thing is like, oh no, just lock it in. But once you lock it in and attorneys get involved, it gets stickier to get out, right? But by this point, again, Jenn is newer to the you know, the process, and we are still trusting him. You know, we were still trusting him. Again, I went through the process before, but it was not like this. It was a newer property, and everything was a lot more seamless. It wasn't the same type of loan, so I didn't know enough. So I said, okay, like, I'm gonna trust you, essentially. Like, all right, fine, I'm gonna trust you. We can take the risk. Cool, no problem. But even then, there was a back and forth, and kind of how he was responding, I was like, ooh, I don't like that. Like, I didn't like it, but I said, all right. I took a breath, I took a step back, I said, okay, all right. And so we moved forward, but that didn't go through. Now this thing, I was over him. I was like, oh no. I was like, I don't like that. I was pissed. I was really upset. And again, because, you know, Jenn is the bleeding heart, she kept me, you know, and then was like, okay, well, you know, we still looking, so we still gotta, you know, work with him. You know, we don't have anyone else to work with, which is also a fact. But she's like, you know, he's still been helping us. And I'm like, okay, you're right. All right, fine. We can forgive, move on. It
seemed like he was still, even though there was that incident with that property where the listing agent didn't know who we were talking about, I felt like he was still showing up. He was still, even though we were the ones sending him properties, but he was still getting us in. We were still able to see the properties. He was still setting time aside almost every week for us to see properties.
So that's, I mean, there's other little things, but let's now go to the third property, right? Because I feel like in between the first property and the second property and the last one, he completely fell off. Like, he started really like pushing the envelope, and by that meaning he stopped being as communicative with us. I feel
after the second property.
Yes, I feel like he would, like I said, he would respond very, like, not even so much that it's like about quickness, but he will respond. You know what I mean? And it'll be in a timely manner. He stopped really doing that. He wasn't really sending us stuff like that. Like, we would have to inquire and send him stuff, and then he'll follow back. And even the way he would follow back with us was different than what he was doing before. He also, like, when we were around him, it was just this energy of him, like, not, like, he ain't want to be there. Like, he was just kind of, like, just there, just, like, whatever. And it just was like, bruh, what did we do to you? And honestly, I felt it was connected to two things. The fact that we did not want to invest in the property that his friend said, because he tried to push that on us at least twice, I feel. Twice that I can remember. Even after the first time, we was like, oh, we're good, we're not interested. We went on another outing, and he went back and showed us the property again. Even though we was like, it's too much money. Unless he's trying to come down, we're good. He tried to push. So I felt like it was that. And the second thing being, I don't feel he liked being, like, questioned. Like, I think he just wanted us to just be like, okay, and then that was it.
I think that you're bringing up an important point. That throughout one of the things that I think we've experienced throughout the process is people, I don't know if it's some kind of, it happens to everyone, they feel like they're the specialist, the expert in how real estate, so they don't want people questioning, or because we were women. Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like it's not just with him either.
No, it was with the lawyer. It was with the agent, the lawyer.
And the lawyer, I think, even more so. Oh, because I feel like he was talking to us like we were children.
Kids, yeah. It was, yeah. There were several occasions where it's like they just wanted us to just listen. and not say nothing, or they were questioning our judgment.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm not talking about like slight things. Like, I felt they were blatant things, you know what I mean? And for us, it was like we were taken aback, like, wait, is that what we think it is? Because we had separate thoughts about it, and then we kind of came together. It was like, did you think? Yeah. And it was like, okay, so it wasn't just me. And I honestly, I sat with that in different ways because I didn't know how to deal with it. Part of me was like upset that I didn't address it right then and there. But another part of me was like, but we still have a working relationship. And I didn't know how to fully address it without it messing up the relationship. We still, essentially, at certain points when we were having these revelations, we needed them at that point, right? We couldn't just, we couldn't have to just pulled out. And it didn't feel good. It didn't feel good. And he went from feeling like, you know, like it was like a brotherly, like he's looking out for us, to, y'all just need to just do it. Just listen. Yeah. Why are you like, you know, doing this? And so for that second property, he just so like, we kept saying, hey, because we didn't want to get to a certain point of getting too far in and then whatever. So I'm like, hey, can you ask their agent to ask the seller, hey, these questions, that questions. And he was so vehemently just, oh no, like, you know, like why, and just that, wait till you get to this point. It was like, but sir, why would we wait to get to that point when we can just ask them now? You can get a gauge of what the seller's mindset is ahead of time. And he just was like, it's like he wasn't working for us. He just was like trying to get us just a sign on the dotted line so that they can be done with. And it was like that. I didn't like that at all. Didn't like it at all. And I think at that point I started feeling like, oh, you really are here just for the money.
Yeah, it definitely started at that point. Like he was trying to push things forward, so that I guess he felt that once we're at some point, regardless of the situation, we would close the deal. We would agree to move forward.
That second home, we weren't sure. We were getting the feeling of it, but by the third one, that's evident. It was clearly evident. That's what he was doing. Yeah. He went from like being very responsive to being somewhat responsive to being barely responsive. And it wasn't until he saw money was involved that he was like on it. And even then, it was very lukewarm. So after the second whole ordeal, that one went a little bit further. That went a little deeper than the first one did. And it eventually, like, fell through. I can't remember exactly why it fell through. It had to do with the tenant thing, right?
Are we talking about the second attorney review or the second property that we offer?
The second attorney review.
Okay. Second attorney review, the last property?
No, sorry. So then the first one. So the second property, not the second attorney review. That was just the last one we were in. The second property.
Second property was because we wanted at least one.
It had to be the basement because the basement wasn't legal. More than likely, it wasn't legal, so that had to be vacated. And another property. So essentially, for the owner, he would have to have vacated 2 each because we were buying 2 side by sides, and he didn't want to do that. And so that's when, mind you, I kept telling him, make sure that, like, beforehand, hey, ask them, make sure that this is clear, make sure that this. First, he was fighting on it, then he was like, okay, I'll do it, da-da-da. Supposedly, there was a conversation had, and it was understood. And now when we get to attorney review, and we're telling the attorney, wait, no, we told our attorney, wait, no, he said this, that, this, and that, and third. He said that it's going to be fine. Then their attorney come back and said the seller, oh, no, the seller doesn't want that.
Yeah, he said that, at the beginning when we said to make sure, he said, well, they accepted that type of loan, so it's understood that. Yeah.
Right. So we told him things we wanted to ask. He was our middleman, so we had no choice but to go through him to talk to them, assuming he was doing the legwork, doing his due diligence. Right. So he made us waste more money on lawyer fees for nothing, right? Because we went through that for no reason. That was just not cool. And I think it might have been after that experience, I kind of was like, ooh, I had some words. Like, I don't think I even fully said everything I wanted to say, but after that experience, it was like, yo, that wasn't cool. Like, how did we get here? If you said that you spoke to them, you know, about this, how did we get here and it followed through like this? And what was that? Maybe I don't even know if it was the same day or the day after, or maybe a couple of days after. It was in that same week that he had his little fit with us. Do you remember?
No,
That was after that.
that was actually for the third property.
It was, but it was also after that fell through because we found that property. Maybe was it? It was soon after, didn't we?
Right.
It was within a week.
I don't remember the time in between, but he threw the fit doing that third property.
Yep, because we had seen the property. We had showed interest. I think we had put offer in, right? Mm-hmm. And then I think something about how he was going about it felt like how he was going about it the previous one. And so it was like, we need you to please, like, ask them this, do this before we put in the offer. And I think it was like, he was like, okay, yeah, I'll do it. Then he kind of came back saying something like before.
I don't even remember what was the reason for
his reasoning was like something happened with his family and he took it out on us. But he essentially was like, oh, he doesn't think that he could work with us anymore. And I have my thoughts about why he decided to work with us again. I think it's because it couldn't be coincidence. Like it was just too on the money for it to be a coincidence. Literally, he messages us and says, "Oh, you know what? Maybe we're not a good fit for each other." Something of that nature. Because we wanted him to do more due diligence this go around. Then, all of a sudden, he hits us back up saying, oh, you know what? He had a lapse in judgment, essentially. He's apologizes. He was under stress and he's sorry. And he wants to talk to us. I was over it at this point, but Jen wanted to talk. So I said, okay. We get on the phone with him and he apologizes and says all this stuff. And then once he apologizes and clears that up, then he's like, oh yeah, their agent is interested. They're going to accept our offer. Now, y'all tell me. Was that a genuine apology or that man was looking at his paper? Because I feel he would just want his money. I feel if that agent didn't contact him when she did, he was going to tell us to kick rocks with no shoes on. Okay? He did not care about us or what we wanted. It's like us expressing for him to do more than just say, yeah, it's good, and just sign here was going to be too much for him. And all of a sudden, oh, guys, I'm so sorry. My bad. Now, against my better judgment, we still went forward with this because we were like, you know what, it has potential, this and this and this. Like, all right, cool.
Yeah, I think the one of the main factors was that he already showed us the property, so if we were to move forward,
correct,
he would have a share. I don't know if it's a share of the commission or
he
the
would
full commission.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So we said, okay, let's just move forward with
and it would have been difficult at this point anyway, because if the offer is accepted, to change out an agent, like it just would have been too difficult. So we had to take that. Like we just had to take the L. I was so over it. So now you would think, right, after we have this little ordeal with him and now we have this accepted offer, at first anything, like, he gave the energy that was quote unquote needed to get the offer in and like through, and then energy just gone again. Gone again. Like, and it's like, okay, you clearly are showing why you are here and where your mind is at. So there were things that needed to be done in the interim. So in between the timing of getting the offer accepted, we had to it's offer accepted, then it's attorney review, right?
Offer accepted, attorney reviews, yes.
Right.
And after attorney reviews, we went into inspection and then contract.
Right.
Contractor first and then inspection.
Throughout this process, I feel like, one, we did more of the legwork. At this point, we were like, we're not leaving nothing to him, because he's showing us that he is just doing all this talking. Previously, he showed us that we're getting a contractor. 1 minute it was this, next minute it was that. We was like, all right. This time it was like, no, here's what we doing. So we was like, we got this, we're doing this and that and the third. And he stepped in, of course, and did some things, right, to show that he's still involved, because he want to, still get his money going. But most of the stuff, I think we were a lot more hands-on with, doing a lot of stuff, and we also didn't go to him as our primary kind of info person. We went more to our lawyer. We went straight, went to the loan officer, as opposed to waiting for him to give us answers. We went on our own to try to find the answers that we needed. So if we did come to him, we already had our answers. If he said something to us, we'll be like, no, this is not what we heard. This is what we know. This go around, again, still a 2 or 3K loan. He went about the process very differently, right? He's just like, oh yeah, you don't need that no more. You could do this, or rather, did we find that out? And then we were like,
we could make the offer without the contractor. I mean, having the contractor bid.
But just a few weeks ago.
And again, he went, oh yeah, you can. Instead of saying, oh, I was wrong the first time around. Oh yeah, you can do that.
No accountability.
Yeah.
This man, throughout the process, when things would fall through, even at his word, like he would say something and we went through with it and it fell through, he would take no accountability. There was always another thing, person, entity that caused it. Cool. Now this is him. There's more that happened, unless you want to touch on it. Just going through this process, we did inspection. We did the contractor came through. He was supposed to come. He made an excuse not to come. Right?
Yeah, he wasn't here on the day the contractor came.
He didn't come. Then when it's time for the inspect, and then he gave us a whole story. It's not even worth getting into. It was just a whole elaborate story. So he just kept adding on and on and on. The things that we had up here, like, oh, we're not sure. He definitely made it concrete that this man was playing us and giving us stories. Like, he made it concrete. Then when it was the inspection time, he showed up late.
He didn't even get inside. He
didn't even come inside to see what was going on. So we went through that on our own, which technically the agent, as a courtesy, should come with you, right? Like, because again, he is the middleman in a lot of things, right? Cool. Then, so we go through this process, just seeing things, talking to the inspector. The house is crazy. Like, we need a lot of work.
But I if I may back up a little bit, when we saw the property twice.
Yep.
And he was there both times. He reassured us about certain things that we're not.
Yes, prior to the inspection and the contractor. So this is what she means. So we went to see the property twice. Yeah.
So we already saw the property needed major work. So we're thinking, okay, these are more aesthetic, like updates that we would have to do. And one of our major concern things we really wanted, like, were the boilers, water heaters, and then foundation. Make sure there's no structural stuff
that someone who sees houses on a daily will see and know. Not stuff that two people who don't know this stuff will know, right?
We would miss. Anybody like us would miss. But there's no way he should miss some of those things that he did. So even, like, because we don't know, we asked him. And on the second visit, the owner was there. So we asked questions about the water heaters, the roof. We got answers, and he's like, okay, maybe the roof he wouldn't be able to confirm. We'll just go by what the owner said. But then for things that we saw in the basement, he should have been able to tell without even asking the guy who say, oh, this is good, this seems more recent or not. And he just co-signed what the owner said. So we're like, okay, we're in good position. Let's move forward. Now.
And when we went through, again, this 2 times that we seen it, I think on both occasions we interacted with the current tenants. And when the actual tenants would tell us stuff, he was kind of like trying to, like, say, oh yeah, they're crazy, or oh yeah,
they don't want you to.
They're gonna say these things because they don't want you to buy. Okay.
Because they're not paying.
They're not paying market rent, which is factual. But every single thing that the tenants said was verified and confirmed by the inspectors. And again, things you can see, right? Someone who sees homes on a regular would see. So that means you were blowing smoke up our ass. Right? And then when we went through the inspection, so now we have a certified specialist tell us, oh, this is some visible stuff. This is a lot. We go and tell him, because again, he didn't come inside to do the inspection with us. He was sitting outside with his child, and another story. And hey, guy, so there's an oil tank. There's things that it's going to take thousands of dollars to rectify. We had a cap. It's going way beyond what our cap was for repairs. And our cap was pretty high. Okay? And structural damage, like roof was a hot mess. Just so much nonsense. And we're talking to him like, hey, because he wasn't inside with us. We're telling him, hey, yeah, this, that. This is going to be highly unlikely. Like, if he doesn't drop the price substantially, it's not going to work. We're telling him all these things. He's like, oh, yeah. What he said? He kept saying, oh, use this to negotiate. He kept saying something about when we get to
drop, he would.
Yeah, or when we get, he was saying when we get to another point. So when we get out of attorney review, or when we get to this point, he's going to have to rectify. So all he just keeps doing is push us through the process. And the deeper you go in the process, the harder it is to get out. We're literally telling him this. Any sane person, any person who cares about another person, their well-being, would tell him, oh, no, this is a hell no. Because everybody else we spoke to about this was like, oh, hell no. The contractor was like, oh, no. Like, the inspector was like, if you were a seasoned investor, yes. For your first home, too much. Like, everybody else but him.
Even as a seasoned investor, the price would have to be right.
Exactly.
It would have to make sense financially.
Exactly. His whole thing was like,
we were willing to entertain.
Right. If he was willing to play ball. He's still like, oh yeah, this all we said is like they need to change freaking doorknobs. Like he just was making it seem like, oh yeah, he'll have to do, and he'll. All right, guy. But by this point, we're already in the sauce, so we can't just get out. We have to it has to be a legally binding, thing for us to get out of the deal. Yeah. Move forward now, and essentially, the deal falls. No, so we get the report, all this stuff, send it to the attorney, the seller's attorney, and this guy, what he offered, $2,500.
Was a joke.
It's a pure joke. This house should have been condemned. It was a death trap. And he at least should have dropped that home at least $200,000. At least $200,000. The man offered $2,500.
There was a lot more.
It was so much work. Yeah. It was technically a shell, not even that. It was not even that.
No,
it wasn't even that.
To do
everything over. Everything, but it was in a good neighborhood, good location. Yeah. So it was
size was right, so.
Good size, all that. But outside of that, it was just not worth it. So and the seller was not trying to play ball. He was trying to get rid of that house because it was a liability, and it was bleeding him money. Because from what their tenants were saying, it was just one problem after the next, after the next, after the next, after the next.
Yeah, and I think for us, one important point at this point, we had to pay. We're in attorney review, so we have to pay the attorney. Well, the only good thing in the sense that it was less money because it was
it didn't go through the full process. Yeah, no, that
but
too.
It wasn't two fees.
Which so was one fee. Yeah. The last time it was two fees. This time it was just one since we were
So
sharing.
we have to pay the contractor because he came and did the job.
Yeah.
And we had to pay the inspector. So now we.
And thank gosh, this inspector was a nice, reasonable man. And he said, look, y'all, we're not going to run all these extra other things. I'm going to give y'all this. This is more than enough to utilize and get with the job done. So thank God, because it could have went from thousands and it was just like high 700s, I think, or 800s or something like that. So thank goodness for that. But now we done shelled out, each of us, close to $1,000, I think, right? Dollars at this point for nothing. And what angers me is the fact that he kept pushing us to get into that point, right? Meaning, in any property, you can say, yeah, just once you get into attorney review, get into attorney review. Like, attorney review is like this magic bullet. I don't know. Like, it was just so weird how he kept pushing that. But the reality of the situation is, attorney review essentially is you done wrote on the dotted line. And now he's saying, oh, now they will be forced to negotiate with you. They ain't got to do shit.
Especially in this
Nothing.
market.
Exactly. And I kept saying that to him, and then there was back and forth about that too. Again, he kept saying things to us as if we should just sit back and take it. And I was just like, but at the end of the day, we are the only ones losing if something goes awry. We have to shell out money up front to not even get a property, right? Even if we don't get the property, we have to shell out money to get out of the contract. It's just so many things where we're the ones taking the risk. No one else is losing here. No one else. Even if we went through the process and bought that damn house, if we had no sense, you getting paid, They're getting, attorneys getting paid, contractor got paid, inspector got paid, lawyers got paid, loan officer got paid. We're stuck with this house that's going to bleed us money. Yeah. And when I made that clear to him, he's like, oh, yeah, I understand. One breath he say he understands it. He gets it. And next breath he's saying, yeah, pushing us forward. Hey, just get to this point. Guy. Yeah. What?
Well, one thing I would disagree with you, see, is that it wasn't all for nothing. Because I think, at least for me, I think we've gained some knowledge that we spoke about it, and we said this is what we're gonna do differently. Even though we did lose money, but I think we came out of this wiser, and now we're gonna be better advocate for ourselves, and we know more things in what to look for in agent and also in a lawyer. So I think.
You're
Although
right.
The outcome wasn't what we expected, we definitely it's gonna allow us to do better the next time around.
Absolutely, and I think that leads us to the lessons learned. For me, I'm going to listen to my gut more. There was so many instances where my gut was like, no, absolutely not. Run. Like, don't do it. And I was just kind of like, okay, let's see how it happens. Let's see how it goes. And it turned out going exactly how I thought. And for that, I need to listen to my gut more. But I think the most important thing, because what we touched on earlier, was how we felt we were talked to. How I felt that they viewed us and talked to us. We need to put up boundaries. Right? And we need to check people when they come at us. Like, no. We are both very educated, intelligent women. And just because we don't have expertise in a particular area does not mean you can talk down to us, does not mean that we don't know nothing, and does not mean we can't understand if it's explained to us properly. But we do our own diligence. When someone tells us something we don't know, in that conversation we'll hear them out, and then we'll go back and be like, look up something and be like, oh, okay, this is what this is, so next time we know what the hell you're talking about, and we'll probably come with more information than you gave us last time. So I felt that there were too many times where they were talking to us crazy, and out of one, not knowing what to say in that moment, or out of like, okay, we need to use this person again, like, just didn't say nothing. And then afterwards, I don't know about you, but afterwards, I there were moments where I was upset. Like, I was like, oh no, like, I felt like I needed to say some shit, and I did it, and it made me upset. And I'm like, because I felt in a way like disrespected, or I felt like didn't like what they said or how they said it. I'm not doing that no more.
I felt a lot like that with the lawyer. More so, especially with the first property, he kept asking us why we want this property, why this location. But the second time around, I felt disrespected by this man, because he was talking to us almost like lecturing a child.
Yes, literally. He said, hey, can we have a conversation? So we're thinking about it's something else. I don't know what we thought. And he literally got on the phone with us. It's like, hey, I just wanted to check. Did you got what he said? Asking us if we it was next after, time. Oh, about the inspections. Oh, next time, you guys have enough expertise to like look and be sure to look for things better. You guys can do this and this and this. Huh? We're inspectors now?
Yeah, you actually did. You did say something. By
that point, I was over everybody, so I was ready to give everybody the business. So, but of course, I had to bring it down. But yeah, at this point, I was like, this man is nuts.
Yeah, I was just shocked, and then I'm like, at this point, I didn't think it was even worth
talking about.
Like responding to him and say, what are you talking about? That. This is why. I think you said something that this is why. I thought that this is why what the agent is
right.
for.
And so when we put it back on him, he's like, yeah, of course, yeah. So like again, one of the situations we were supposed to sit back and not say nothing. When you do speak up, they're like, oh no, yeah, what you're saying is valid. So then why the fuck did you say it to us then? If you knew that, why the hell did you come to us and say this nonsense to us? Like, it was just how they interacted was so weird. It was just so off. It was, and again, almost all of them were black men, except for, the contractor and then the loan officer were Latino men. But it was just, I've had a black male real estate agent before, and it was a different experience. I was really hoping that this one was going to be like that. He was very on the money. Like, he was on it. You know what I mean? It just happened. The deal that we had fell through, and then he ended up moving to Georgia. So that was a whole nother thing. But it just left a real bad taste in my mouth with so many things. The seller of the home was also a black man, and he was just lying out his ass. Like, he looked us dead in our face and lied to us about so many things. Our lawyer, you know, was talking to us crazy. The agent started acting crazy and treating us crazy. And for me, again, what I stress for anyone who's doing this, listen to your gut and put up your boundaries. You feel me? It doesn't have to mean you get disrespectful. It doesn't mean that you cuss people out, because that's not what I'm saying. But what you do say is make it clear to them that, no, you're not a dumb little girl that don't know what they're doing. Okay? It's the fact that you are all here, though, to advise us. It doesn't mean you tell us what to do. And I think that's what they didn't understand. Like, advising someone gives them the choice to take what you're saying to them and apply it how it's needed. Telling them what to do is saying, do this, and we're supposed to go, okay. And that's what they were expecting us to do. Unless we ask you what to do, say, hey, tell us what to do. We don't want you to tell us what to do. And I don't think they understood that. And I don't know if it would have been different if we were men. Yeah. I don't know if they would have talked to us in the way that they did, or went about things that they way they did. And that's just how I feel.
No,
how about you?
I agree with you. That I don't think it would have gone the same way. At least the interaction with the attorney and some of the agent, the way they spoke to us, I doubt they would do the same to a man. Yeah.
Highly doubt that. What are some takeaways that you had, some lessons learned moving forward?
Well, lesson learned for the attorney, I think I would want to focus more, to ask, like we have already spoke about, a list of questions that we want to ask. We want someone who focuses on real estate only.
Yeah, this man was all over the place too.
Yeah, only because sometimes that specific attorney would send things really late, or he wasn't able to do the document the same day, and because he was doing other things. And
there were things that I felt like he should have known, and he would tell us in conversation, oh, he's not sure, he doesn't know. Right. It's like, but what did we pay you for? Yeah, so like what? But again, it was too late at that point. Yeah.
So I think he also does criminal law, so he had hearing during the day, and then maybe this was something he does on the side in the evening. So we want someone who knows the ins and outs when it comes to law, because sometimes even when some of the things we wanted to put on the contract. He wasn't sure. He would have to check. So we want someone who knows. Yeah. And in terms of the agent, we want someone. We're definitely gonna maybe share some of our experience, not get into details, but to let them know this is our expectation from the get-go. And as soon as they show us a different face, we address it or say goodbye. Yep. Because this is a big transaction. This is a big investment. Huge deal. They are working for you in a sense, even though they're not getting their commission from you. But if you don't close the deal, they're not getting that commission. Yep. So I think I'm gonna be less forgiving. That's for sure. I think I was way too forgiving and saying, give them another chance in terms of the agent. And also, we want to know what they look for. So we want to know what's their expertise like in terms of looking at property, because they're not just showing you a property. They have to look at things, for example, in the basement, or look at if there's any. Yeah,
how long? I don't think we asked how long he's been in the business, but we need also someone who's a little more seasoned. Right. But I also think, just like with the lawyers, someone who this is their full-time job, because this was not his full-time job. He was personal training, and he was working in here. Like, it was just a lot. It was just too much. Like, it was just, when it came down to the nitty-gritty, this is when all of a sudden he got 3 jobs, when it's like before he never mentioned anything like that, and he was accessible. So when it was like, it just, I'm telling you, he just deteriorated, and it was like, okay, so somebody who's serious about this. Right. This is where they get their bread buttered. Yeah. Overall, I think also the biggest takeaway is to advocate for yourself. Speak up. Right. Speak up. And if you have outside resources, outside things, outside people to reach out to who can assist you, definitely do that. Don't take what your agent is saying, even what your attorney is saying, as it, right? Like, do your own due diligence, do your own research, but also when something doesn't feel right or you're unsure, speak up for yourself. And if you get pushback in a way that, I think if you get pushback, period, I think that should also be addressed, and you should really sit on that and not take it lightly. Because again, like what Jen said, this is a huge transaction, and it's a huge transaction for you. It's a huge life step. If the people you're working with minimizes it, makes it seem like, oh, this is regular every day, no. I think if you don't feel special, when I say special, meaning that they are taking the care that you need for this process, especially it being your first process, that speaks volumes. And we definitely experienced that we weren't being handled with care, and we didn't speak up. And I definitely regret that. I think towards the end, I started speaking up. I gave a little pushback, but not as hard as I could have during the process. But towards the end, we let them have a piece of our minds. Quite a few of the parties at hand, because even the second go around, the contractor got very unprofessional, and we had to give him a piece of mind. And again, a lot of people, they apologized. Some apologized. The agent was probably like the only one who really took no accountability. The lawyer, we didn't really give a chance for apology. We just kind of just like, bruh, don't come at us like that. Like, that ain't our job. You feel me? It's y'all job to help us, not for us to be doing all this extra stuff. So we were able to like address them after the fact. And so I feel a little better about that. But I feel like I should have advocated for us sooner, as things are happening, not sitting back and going, I don't know. Because by then you already going to be lost in the sauce of things. And thank God we were able to get out of the contract, and it wasn't something that was dragged out, because it could have went worse. It could have really gotten ugly, and I'm happy it didn't get there, but we shouldn't have put ourselves in that predicament. Yeah.
Another thing that just came to mind is don't go with the hype, like in terms of pricing. Like, go with what makes sense financially, just because things are going really high, or the agent tells you the property is gonna appraise for this, because we have one of the properties.
That's what he kept saying. Oh, appraisal. It's not gonna appraise.
Actually for two of the properties. Yes. But the first one, he said, oh, you'll appraise, and then our deal fell through. Maybe a month later, it got back on the market for, I think, was it like 50,000 or
just way less
than what we initially offered, because we went actually this time based on what he said he would appraise for.
Yeah, when we're putting it, so what she's referring to is putting an offer in. So we put the offer in for asking or above, because he's like, yeah, it's definitely gonna sell. Yeah, something around here is definitely this. And then as the process gets along, or if we see something we was looking at or put an offer in for less, he's like, he ain't got nothing to say. He like, oh yeah. And he kept pushing, I'm sorry, but like, just to add this, he kept pushing, that's what the word I kept forgetting was appraisal. He kept pushing us to go to the next step before, instead of pulling out, right? Instead of saying, oh, this ain't working. Instead of giving us an alternative. He said, oh, let's get to the alternative. Put the bid in. Like, we won't have to worry about it unless the bid gets accepted. Oh, just get to attorney review, and that's when you worry about this. Get to attorney review. Next step. Oh, it ain't gonna appraise. Get to appraisal. Yeah. What? He just kept pushing us to next step. And that's moving further and further. If you get to appraisal, the process is almost done.
Yeah. God. Only after attorney review, you only have so many days.
Yeah.
And like specific criteria under which you can actually
do certain things, and then you're locked in essentially, right? Until this appraisal, which is also at your expense. Like, this guy was a mess. I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead, girl.
Yeah, so I guess only thing I was gonna say, because I know with this market things are selling way above appraised. So people, I guess if you feel that you want the property, you go and make the offer above. I guess if it makes sense for you financially, go ahead. But it seems like things are starting to slowly
normalize a little bit.
And prices of some of the properties, at least we've looked into, that are still in the market, they're going down. So just don't go solely by what your agent says. So That's one thing I learned for sure.
If we don't feel it's worth that, we're not going to offer that.
Yeah.
That's essentially it. There was a few properties where like, that ain't worth that. Oh, but just going, we were told, oh, this, and this. We going to offer what we want to offer. If they don't accept it, then that's fine. Because if we're not comfortable with that number, we shouldn't even play around with it. Because there's no guarantee that we're not going to pay that amount, right? Because some sellers, even if it doesn't appraise, they're still like, no, we're still going to, that's what we want. Then we just wasted our time doing all of that, So there's I think a few other little things that's like that, but definitely that, like, if it don't feel right from the jump, price wise, anything this doesn't sit well with you, don't bother. Just don't bother. Don't think that somewhere along the line it's going to iron itself out, because a lot of times you're just going to add more complication and it's not necessary. And just keep in mind, these things are at your expense. So if you got money to play with, then go ahead. You want to take that risk, that's cool. But if it's just not going to be worth it in the long run, or even in the short term, just to get through this process, don't do it. I don't think it's worth it. Don't do it at all.
But even though we've had bad experience with this particular agent, I think all these properties, this experience in general, we've learned a lot. I think we're wiser. So we will do better for sure the next time around.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so
I don't doubt that. I definitely think we're gonna do better.
Yeah, we know more about the 2 or 3K process.
Yes.
So that's so if we do decide to go that route, so we'll be able to move faster and
And so we're definitely gonna come to the table with our own players. Meaning, we're going to identify our own lawyer, because we use the lawyer that the agent has suggested. So we're coming with our own lawyer. Like, we already have, our own financial person. We are going to take more onus, I think, of the process. And instead of thinking that person has your best interests at heart, we got our own best interests at heart. You feel me? And we're definitely going to come with our own, have backup too for the next go around. So that way we have more control, because you do have a level of control in this process. It's not something that's completely out of your hands until you got to dish out some money. That's not how it should feel. And I definitely don't want that feeling again moving forward at all.
Oh.
All right.
Okay.
Y'all, it's a lot. This was heavy. It took us weeks before we could even record this, to be honest. This was something that weighed on us for a while. We had to, at least for me, I had to diffuse, because I was angry. I had to really get the emotion out, and then be able then to pull away, like what Jenn said, that we did, come out wiser, and we did come out this and that. So before I can really be like, okay, yeah, there were some things that were learned here. There's some things I could have did better here. Right. But it definitely took some time to kind of get this episode together. But hopefully next episode, next time we do an update, it's better news. It's more promising info, even if it's not necessarily, we definitely got a home, but at least we're going to be working with people that are going to make it happen for us.
Right.
And that's the hope.
Yeah, for sure. So that's the latest in home buying.
That's the latest. That is the latest. So till next time, y'all. Thank you for joining us.
Ciao.
For today's Connection Corner, I leave you with, I'm very big on respect. I don't care how nice I may seem. Don't play with me. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of the Oasis podcast. I hope you were able to find something that resonated with you on your journey. Don't forget to subscribe anywhere you listen to podcasts and YouTube. Rate us and leave us a review and comment on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, and YouTube. Share your favorite episode and like us on Instagram and Facebook. If you have any questions, comments, want to be a guest, or any show ideas, contact us at ajaysoasis@gmail.com. That's AAYJAYSOASIS@gmail.com. Or direct message us on Instagram